Should I look at the camera every now and then?
If you want to. You could be as awkward or as unawkward as you want to be.
I've never heard myself in a... So I feel like I'm talking real quiet.
What do I do with my hands? You don't know that, do you?
This is... Do I?
Is
that
joke.
a meme? No, I don't know that.
That's a joke. John would know.
I've never seen it.
So I don't have any way of starting this.
Okay.
So it's just...
It's a good way to start then.
Yeah. It's the most organic way. And then I chop it up and...
Add into pieces.
Yeah. I don't have anything to talk about specifically either.
Okay. I was going to ask you, but...
Just the only thing, because I only have one... Well, I have one, I'm doing it. The switching of the camera. But
yeah.
Two... I was going to say, like... I'm going to be mindful if you're talking, be mindful if I'm talking, just so I can have enough time to switch and not like go like a quick flip over.
Don't rush into saying what I need to say next is what you're saying?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so take a little pause.
Take a pause.
Am I talking really loud?
No, just talk normal. What were you going to ask me though?
I was going to ask you before because I was nervous.
You're nervous?
Well, yeah. One, I've never been on a podcast before. Two, I've never heard myself like this before. Three, I feel like I'm talking really loud, but I feel like I'm whispering at the same time. And then I was like, I don't know if I should ask because I kind of want to go in it.
Ask what?
If what we're going to talk about.
Oh, I have no agenda.
Oh.
Yeah, it's some of the podcasts I do. The one I did last with Phil, I had an agenda in the sense I had a bunch of questions that I put down that I wanted to ask him.
Yeah.
Selfishly, but also I knew that whoever listened would get something out of it. Just like he's a good mentor. He has a lot of wisdom and he's willing to share.
Is he a pastor?
No.
Oh.
He's a carpenter.
Oh.
Yeah, his story.
Way off.
Well, he did go to seminary,
okay.
But he knows a lot about the about the Bible and Scripture and the history, and well educated in that. So you know what seminary is, right?
No, I was actually going to ask you.
The seminary is just basically Bible school.
Oh.
Where you learn the Bible, you learn the theology, you learned everything that has to do with the Bible and all that stuff. So I don't know. I think it's a couple years. So he went to that when he was younger, and then I don't know when or why he switched over to being a carpenter. But he switched over to being a carpenter, and his testimony. He was already a believer before that, but his testimony was he fell he said it so many times. I wish I remember 20 feet from a ladder to his head.
Ooh, head first?
I don't know if it was head first, but his head hit the ground right away. Like it hit the ground, split his skull open. He said he was literally having to have a towel hold his head up or tie it to squeeze it in. He has staples down the middle of his head. For 7 years, he wasn't normal. He was alive and he was functioning, but he dealt with chronic pain. He wasn't his nerves weren't all there, and then all of a sudden, there was just a bunch of things that happened that were from that accident that caused him to not be the same again. But then 7 years later, through his wife's connections, was able to, because she was a teacher, or she was a superintendent, and through her connections of somebody who was in medicine, blah blah blah, was able to have a case study done on him that allowed him to get this surgery to bring him back full circle to where he was before.
Wow.
So that was 7 years of his life. So for that kind of a podcast, I have questions.
Full circle. Well, I mean, I guess that goes to show you it really is, the people you know.
Mm-hmm.
Connections. This is good for ASMR.
I know.
I can see why people are into it. I forgot to talk really quiet.
Yeah, for him, I have questions. For other people, there's the first guy, the guy who lost his leg, Raph,
Yeah.
I just want him to share. And then from his sharing, I have curiosity, I'll ask questions.
Yeah.
Same thing with, I got somebody else coming later next month. And I don't really have an agenda for that. I'll let him kind of share his testimony and then go from there if anything comes from that. Then I have another guy that I'm trying to schedule right now that his testimony is pretty crazy. I only know like a snippet of it. Basically, the snippet that I got was he, and I hope I'm not getting this wrong, but guy wanted to become a girl. So
guy you want on?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was transitioning.
Okay.
I think he got the implants for boobs. And then something happened. I'm not sure exactly what, because I haven't talked to him yet. I've actually never even met him.
Oh, really?
I know of him. But then he detransitioned the part that he transitioned. So he got like a double mastectomy after getting implants. So he went from guy to girl back to guy.
Interesting. You don't hear a lot of stories like that.
No.
Actually, I have been hearing, I think more people are coming forward with their story about detransitioning and the problems they've had with transitioning. And it's becoming more of a spoken topic. I don't know, though, because, when you go on social media, there's algorithms. So you watch something and more of those videos come out.
Yeah, but I really do think that, like, because the transitioning it's been happening already. It happened before in the past. Like, this is not new,
right? But
it's become more prevalent today. Mm-hmm. Like, I think the statistics is crazy. I'm not gonna say them because I know I'm gonna butcher them. But like back in the, call it 80s, 90s, the percentage of people that considered themselves gay in high school was like single digits.
Okay.
This is where Tay would come in handy, where she can like look it up.
We need a Jamie.
Yeah, that's what John was supposed to be. And then it went from, now into the 2000s, or in today's day, it's just like half of them consider themselves either gay, bisexual, or trans. So the percentage has gone way up. So it happened before in the past. Mm-hmm. It's become more prevalent today. And with all the people who are doing it today, I think that's just like more data that goes towards people also detransitioning back because they realize that that's not their identity. That's not who they were. And they regretted it. Did you ever watch that documentary, What is a Woman?
Yeah, I saw it the second. Did I pay for it? No, because they put it free for like 24 hours.
On Twitter?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I saw it.
And I was like, I gotta watch. What's his name? Matt Walsh?
Yeah.
The second I found that it was free. I don't even know how I came across it. I think it was Instagram. And I watched it right away. And it was great.
I thought it was good. I thought it was just kind of like too long and repetitive. I thought it was good and like, I feel like it just shared too much of like the woke agenda of like the left side of the left, where it's just like they're completely, I feel like oblivious to like reality almost. With like the doctor who was like the doctor with the short hair, you know what I'm talking about?
The woman.
Yeah, she was. I thought she was nuts.
The one where she was talking about chickens or something. He brought up chickens, and she's like, "Chickens don't identify as."
I think so.
Male or female.
I think so, but I think the strongest person in that was, or the strongest part of that was the girl who became a guy.
Who had issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was basically saying that she was gonna like always live with infections, always live with not fully looking like a man and really never being a man.
Right.
But then also, I think didn't she say something about like she was also gonna potentially live less of a life?
Yeah, a shorter life. It was a man to a woman to back to a man. Is that what it was? It was a woman to a man?
I think she stayed a man.
She
was female first.
Okay. And then went to a man. I don't know. To be honest. I just know there was some transition and that she was talking about, or he was talking about the issues that came from that. which I think was great that he added that in there because it was repetitive.
Yeah.
But he gave a different side to it that not a lot of people highlight.
So then, since we're talking about that, and you just had a baby, Josephine. With the agenda of like what the school does these days, does it worry you about putting her in school at all? Or in general, just being a new mom. One, it being your first. And then two, just the fact of like the way the world is, the way the world has an influence on children and like they pray after kids.
Yeah.
Have you thought about it that far yet? About like getting into when she gets into school and what you're gonna do and stuff like that?
Absolutely. I thought about it before I even knew I was pregnant, because I always knew I wanted to have kids. And seeing how the world has gone down this path, and social media I think has a lot to contribute to. I think there's good and bad with social media. It highlights what's going on and allows you to know what's happening in these school systems.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people stepping forward, and then a lot of people who are really radical about their beliefs that I necessarily don't believe or agree with. It made me think about it before I was pregnant. So obviously when I became pregnant and giving birth, I've thought about it more. But John and I, my partner,
John is a girl?
John is a girl. Why did you say that?
You said partner. I feel like anytime somebody says partner, I'm always like, I instantly think of like they're gay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
you don't hear that often?
No. I feel like if they're saying like if they're not gay, they'll say like significant other.
Oh, that's true.
Because a lot of the people, some of the guys in the loft that I work at, they're gay. Actually, I think I'm the only straight guy in the loft. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of gay clients. Period. Like there's a lot of gay people in Sarasota.
Interesting.
And actually, one of them was super funny yesterday. He's getting a divorce, and the way he said
from a woman or a guy?
From a guy.
Okay.
He's gay.
Well, I didn't know if he like realized he was gay.
Oh. Which I've heard that plenty of times behind the chair too. And I've had people transition in my not in chair.
Figure out they want to be the
No, they already started. Like I started cutting them as
one gender and then eventually change to the next.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if Nati's calling. Let's pause it. I was saying that I had multiple clients they were my personal clients, and also clients in the shop that went from being a girl to being a guy. And it was like I started cutting them as a girl, and I only knew them as a girl. They weren't, they looked tomboyish, but they transitioned in my time of cutting their hair. Went from Abby to Nate.
Wow. Have you accidentally ever
called them the wrong name?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told them, I was like, listen, I knew you as Abby.
Yeah.
I cut your hair like that for a while. I mean, you told me the process, but then eventually you came in one day as Nate. So I had a relationship with them, or a rapport with them. So I was like, give me some time before I might mess up. I'll try. But if I mess up, just, have some grace for me. But they were like, yeah, no problem. I get it. It's understandable.
If only everyone was like that.
Yeah, I feel like the loudest people are the ones that are seen out there as like, don't misgender me. Like I just had Brandon send me a reel, and it was somebody who was a girl who got pulled over, was drunk, and the cop kept saying, "Ma'am, do this, ma'am, do that," and she was like, "I'm non-binary. Please don't call me that. It triggers me." And he was, I don't think, doing it on purpose. He kept saying in the video he was trying to actually be respectful and call her.
Ma'am?
No, not call her ma'am. She didn't want to be called ma'am. I forget what she wanted to be called, but it wasn't ma'am. Or maybe just by her name.
Yeah.
or they or them or something like that. But he, yeah, she was. I feel like those voices of, and she was just she was freaking out. She was like starting to cry. She was like, my anxiety, you're triggering me with. That's not. I feel like the majority. I think that's just a loud minority.
That's a good way to put it. I saw that video.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I'm talking about that.
Yeah.
So you made me spend the whole time explaining it.
I didn't want to interrupt you. But yeah, it's a loud minority.
Yeah. I forget what we were talking about before that, how we got on that topic. But we were talking about school.
Yeah.
If you feel like with the agenda of the way the world has such an influence on people, especially kids, because we essentially dropped them off, and then the schools raise them,
right?
And we don't know what the heck they're doing.
I know.
Josephine's only 2 months old.
It's gonna be 3 on the 3rd.
Three months old. So you obviously have a ways to go, but
it's gonna fly by. It's gonna be here before we know it.
What are you thinking?
So we had talked about it before. My initial, when I did find out I was pregnant, my straight up response was, let's homeschool. That was out of fear,
mm-hmm.
which I had to come to terms with.
Fear of what? That what we were just talking about?
What we were just talking about, you know, it was never really an issue. I maybe not as prevalent for parents to drop their kids off at school. We went to public schools, and we went to public schools our whole life, so we had teachers pretty much raising us, if you will, for the majority of the time that we weren't home, and it didn't really scare mom and dad. But now, again, I go back to social media and the influence that it has on people. I think that adults are taking it to the next level, where they think that they're not just there to teach, they're there to incorporate their own morals and values into the kids, into what they think that the kids should believe in, and
impose.
Yes. And let me not lose my train of thought, but
the reason for you getting fearful of...
So it's that, and then also school shootings.
Yeah.
Which was also coming from a place of fear, because I don't watch the news, because I view it as just a TV show. Mm-hmm. They want more views, so they're going to try to instill fear in people. And you have them always reporting on these school shootings. But when you look at the statistics, the amount of mass shootings that happen are much less than you would think, than if you were watching the news. You think it's happening so much, but it's actually not. If that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't think it makes sense.
So it's happening a lot. Mass shootings is happening more.
I think we have to look at like the percentage of like decades, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and where we're at now.
Okay, in that sense, yes, it's happening a lot.
Yeah.
But in a sense of how much it happens in a year, it's not as much as you would think if you were watching the news thinking it's happening every once a week type thing.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So that was my other thing of wanting to homeschool, coming from a place of fear, you know, and being selfish of like, I don't want to send my kid off to school and me get anxiety all day long, wondering if they're going to be safe, let alone worried about a teacher who's going to impose their own morals and beliefs on my kid. It's interesting because I'm not raising her on my own. I have a significant other whose opinions are also important.
For sure.
So I can't just go based on what I want.
Yeah. Which
is new. So talking to him for a little bit and, you know, having a discussion over months, realizing that we have time, but it's going to come sooner than later. We think it's best to send her to a private school. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of benefits in sending a kid to school, period. You know, the social aspect of it, and finding and meeting leaders in adults that have good morals and beliefs that they live by, that can be a influence or a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not just an influence, but a good role
Example.
model. Yeah. That's also important, so that we're just not the only ones. So we agreed on sending her to private school, and who knows, that might change.
Yeah, I
in the
mean,
next
she's still
4
only
years.
she's only 3 months,
Right.
so technically she wouldn't start until she's like 5 is technically kindergarten, right?
Yeah, 4 is preschool.
You might start a little early, but you still have a lot of time. But I mean, daycare is still. I don't know if mom's gonna do the babysitting or the daycare version of what you would.
For when? When she's older?
No, from now until
I don't know.
that school time happens, because then daycare also has to be looked at as, that they're raising that child too.
There's so much I don't know yet.
No, which is fine. Like, I'm not saying you have to. I was just wondering.
No, yeah,
Actually, no. You have to know.
I have to know now. There's a lot that I'm realizing that, because sometimes I just want to know it all now.
Yeah. What about? Listen, with a 5 and a 2-year-old, there's still a lot that we're learning, and people who have, I mean, there's still a lot mom and dad are learning, and we're all grown.
Right.
But what about this? First person to graduate college in our family.
Yeah.
Do you feel, and now being a mother, how do you feel about if you were to be a stay-at-home mom someday? Do you feel like that would be kind of a waste?
That's a good question.
Or do you feel like, or how do you feel about that in any sense? Do you feel like it would be a waste? Do you feel like you don't want to give up your identity as an independent woman? Not saying independent from, like, a man. I'm saying independent, and your independence as a person.
Yeah.
Because obviously college is difficult. It took you time to graduate.
I think in total it was 6 years.
Which is fine.
Outside of the 4.
You beat me. I'm still on my associates.
It's okay. College is a scam. That's what I believe.
But how do you feel about it?
It's a good question, because I was actually just talking to Johnny about this the other day.
Kids makes you think a lot deeper about situations, because when you're without kids, it's kind of like, even when you're in a relationship, it's 2 people, but like you're still living individual lives.
Right.
Once you have a kid and you bring a family, there's so many decisions that are needed to be based off of 2 people's opinions. And then how do you coexist those 2 opinions to be able to raise a family?
Right. In a healthy way.
It's
a lot of compromise that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Which, from an ego way, I'm like, no, my way or the highway. No. But that's a good question. Like I said, Johnny and I were talking about this, and I feel indifferent. It's tough. I'm in a tough spot, because how's that water?
Delicious.
I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to go to college.
Yeah.
But also there's a part of me that's like, it's a scam. I went to college and I put myself in debt.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing.
Continue your thought. I don't want to throw you off with another question.
No, you can.
Do you feel like your job now you could do without your degree?
I got hired before I graduated.
So yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
I do think I can.
But any of the schooling that you got, does it help you towards what you do now?
No.
None?
No.
No way. Had you not graduated, would they have kept you?
Probably.
Good Lord.
They hired me when I still had about a year worth of classes left. And there may have been a mistake or misunderstanding there. I think that maybe they thought I graduated, but I made it very clear that I didn't.
But they didn't ask for your diploma or anything.
No. So my job, which is a good job, which is a great job, it's a great company.
That sounded like Trump. Trump's way of, it's a really good job. It's a job.
I love
it's the best jobs. I got the best job of them all. They may be watching, so you have to say exactly what they want to hear.
That's what I'm saying. So yeah, it's tough. I'm grateful for the opportunity being a first generation college student and the first one in our family, that being that as well.
Yeah, throw it in the face.
I have to. It's something that I accomplished. But I also, at the same time, again, think college is a scam. You know, I think there's a lot that you can learn outside of college with experience. And I think that if I'm being completely honest with myself, I didn't want to go to college till I was about a senior in high school. I was like, I'm not going to college. That's not for me. I hated school. I hated school. I struggled with it because the way the curriculum is set up in terms of how they teach, that's not beneficial to how I learn. I'm a very hands-on learner, and the school system is very lecturing type of way, and that doesn't work with me.
I think a lot of people are like that.
So I considered myself stupid because I just wasn't retaining the information, especially when it came to history. Oh my gosh. And it frustrated me. So I grew this negative relationship with school and learning. And then it wasn't until senior year that in my mind, I was like, you know what? Maybe going to college will put me in a better place and for a future job than if I were to not go to college. So it was out of fear that I went to college because I didn't enjoy college. And it's the same type of curriculum and learning and how they teach. I had a great time with my friends. That was great. I will forever remember those experiences, and I wouldn't take it back.
So college was fun.
College in itself, outside of classes, great time.
In classes, not so much.
But COVID also happened when I was in school. So I lost a semester.
Then it became all online, right?
Yeah.
So with all that being said, do you feel like...
Back to the question.
Yeah, back to the question asked. Do you feel like it'd be a waste if you decided to go the route of being a stay-at-home mom?
Yes. If I'm being honest, I feel like it would be a waste, but I don't want it to feel that way. So it's like if I can maybe get a good few years in. The only reason I would feel like it's a waste is because of the debt.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That's the only reason. If I wasn't in debt and I had paid off all my tuition up front or whatever they may have been, I would have not been mad about it.
Right.
Or felt any negative emotion about it. But it's only because of the debt that I would feel like, wow, I wasted.
Yeah, but that's not only with school. Like, people feel debt has this way of putting chains on people. And no matter what circumstance they're in, whether it's tuition of school, car debt, house debt, credit card debt in general has this bond on these chains on people to make them feel like whatever's holding them back from going forward is the debt. And then they feel like indebted to the debt, whatever the debt is for. So if it's like, if you buy a car that you really shouldn't buy and you're in debt because of it, it's not necessarily easy to just sell it because you're probably upside down on it. So like that kind of weighs you into like forcing yourself to enjoy the car, but kind of feeling a prisoner to the car that you just got. That happens a lot. Yeah. And people also buying houses that, one, maybe they can't afford, so it's over their budget. It's too big of a house. It's not in the right location because they compromised on location and all that. We're back, and we're back. Good Lord.
What were we talking about?
Can you hear me?
Debt.
Yeah.
Is this in a bad position? You're
Maybe a
looking
little
at it.
closer.
Closer?
That's good there. Yeah, just debt in general. Being you're basically enslaved to the debt. I feel like is ultimately what I was saying. I don't know where I was gonna go with that, but
I answered your question though, but I feel like it's a waste. Yeah. All in all. But I think that that's just another topic, or for a lack of a better term, to kind of heal through, if you will.
What do you mean?
Like to not feel, to it's an opportunity for me to switch my perspective. Because if I do eventually become a stay-at-home mom, which would be great.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I want now. Who's to say I want that in 5 years?
Yeah.
As another side note. But lost my train of thought.
Okay, so what about this? Do you have any other big fears that you since becoming a mom has kind of plagued you or no? Because like I feel like once you have a kid, your train of thought goes from just like, oh, I'm in the world, and all of a sudden like a kid comes in, or even right before a kid comes in, you're like, man, do I have this all set? Do I have this settled? Do I need to get life insurance? Do I need this? Do I need that? What about the house? Is the house big enough? Do I make enough money? Do I not have enough in reserves? Am I prepared for this? Do I start saving now for their future? So all those things start to come into mind. And for some people it like weighs on them more than others, right? But do you feel like as a new mom you've had any big fears?
Not fears in that sense. Fear in a different sense of, how do I ensure that I'm the best role model that I can be for her as a woman?
Mm-hmm.
How do I create a space for her where she feels safe, heard, seen? How do I make sure I'm emotionally available for her as she gets older? Creating that safe space in putting my own ego and fears and not letting that run the way that I raise her.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest fear, because I'm still an individual person who has fears and doubts, and I still have goals and everything, but more on the negative notes of that. You know, I don't want to subconsciously put that on her.
Yeah.
And with the goals, I don't want to, again, subconsciously try to make her into somebody that I wish that I was. In a sense of like, for example, I wish I took the time to learn how to ice skate and put more time into me, into finding my hobbies for me. I don't want to.
Do you really wish you did that?
Yeah.
You know you can still do that, right?
I know, but that's the thing too. It's another fear of like feeling like I don't have time to, not that I don't have time. Well, maybe that's a part of it too. But just feeling like finding myself is that opportunity has left me. Knowing that it hasn't, but still dealing with those thoughts.
Yeah. I think the beauty of being self-aware like that though is that you're trying, and then two, like with the fear of time, you're only 26. You're 26.
I'm about to be 26.
I'm about to be 26. And like, there's still so much time for you to continue to like grow as an individual, and you're not gonna stop until you die, essentially.
Right.
I can understand the fear of time in the sense of like, now you have a kid, now you have someone who's dependent on you, now you have a family, and now I want to continue to try to do the things that I enjoy or try new hobbies. But the fear of missing out on or not giving them that free time that you have definitely creeps into mind, I think, for all parents, most parents.
Yeah.
Because there is definitely bad parents out there that don't care about the time that they spend, or don't even make the time to spend with their kids, with their significant other. It is important the time that we do have with our kids and our family, that regardless of how much or how little it is, that time is spent intentional
And of quality.
And you try to make it as much of quantity as you can too. But at the same time, like, it's important for individuals as parents to not lose ourselves either. Because when we lose ourselves, we actually end up hurting our children, I think, in the long run, because we're not the best versions of ourselves, and we're still adapting and growing. And our kids seeing us grow and adapt and overcome fears and overcome hurdles that life continues to throw at us only helps our ability to be role models for them, because they see, okay, well, I saw mom go through this, and as they're little, they may not understand, but as they get older, like, whoa, like, I saw dad open up his first business, or I saw dad go through this, or how many kids saw their parents go through COVID as a small business and they persevered, or they didn't, and how did they end up becoming afterwards. So we do life with them. We're not and the transparency of being vulnerable and honest and allowing them to be seen, heard, it also comes from the ability of us being able to have them see and hear us in everything that we go through.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Still being human.
And like apologizing, not being too prideful. Just because I'm the parent, I can't apologize. I'm not just because I'm the parent, I'm not wrong. Like, the amount of times that I've done something out of anger or annoyance with specifically Nehemiah, because he's older, and the boy, I'm like, I got to go back and I got to apologize. I feel bad for the way I handled that, and it's not the version that I want him to remember, because ultimately, I mean, you can attest to this, we don't choose the memories that we end up keeping. Man. That's weird, right? Mom and dad could have made, like, our life a fairy tale, but it could have been that one time that, like, they didn't take us here, or they didn't allow us to go there, or they didn't allow us to go to that new friend's house because they wanted to meet the parents.
Right.
Growing up, I was like,
they did that to you too?
Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna hang out with the parents. Like, what do you care if I hang out with this kid? But now being a parent, I'm like, yeah, like, you have to be careful of where your kids are going. And it's through all that like we become the better versions of ourselves, which ends up being a better version of us as a parent, us as a sibling, us as a significant other, a spouse, a son, a daughter, and a friend ultimately. So right. That's how life works.
What is that? You're passing the
baton
mic to me?
Yeah.
So you have two.
Yeah.
Both boy and girl. Ideal. What's the biggest difference?
It was like done on purpose.
What's the biggest difference you see in how you raise them, or how it feels to have both a boy and a girl, your relationship with them, how you go about parenting? Do you ever feel guilty for maybe, I've heard that parents, especially from a male perspective, they'll love their daughter in a different way than they love their son, whether it's intentional or not. Do you see that with yourself?
Yeah. The way I raised Nehemiah versus Naomi.
Yeah.
It has to do with obviously their gender, but also their age, of course.
Right.
Like 2 years old, you're way more forgiving. The second child, you're way a little bit more, laxed on how you let situations happen. Those commercials are like so spot on with like, oh, your second child, the lady hands them off to the mechanic with greasy ass hands. But there's a saying that goes, or no, there was a comic, I think, that said this. He said, I now know the difference of having a boy and a girl. For my son, I would die for him. I would take a bullet for him. I'd jump in front of a car for him. I would do whatever I need to protect him. For my daughter, I would kill for her. In the sense of like, okay, I'm gonna jump in front of a car, but then I'm also gonna kill somebody,
right,
if I need to for her. Obviously, that's an extreme, but it's the difference of the type of love. I don't love either one of them more, but I do love them differently.
Yeah.
Equally. And I feel as a father, I have a responsibility of a couple things. For Naomi, how a husband is supposed to treat his wife. That's going to be her first way. I'm going to be the first person, we're going to be the first people for her to see how a husband is supposed to treat his wife and a wife is supposed to treat her husband. For me, and as the dad, how a husband is specifically supposed to treat and honor his wife. And for Nehemiah, the same thing. But the thing with Nehemiah is, this is the question I had for the last guy I did the podcast with, Phil, because it's a struggle that I have. Is I want to be stern and raise Nehemiah to be a man in the world, because the world is not kind and forgiving as much to men as it is to women. I think.
Unfortunately, I agree.
And men who are open and like with their emotions and transparent with things that they struggle with are still viewed as weak. But I want Nehemiah to be strong in the world, but also be, vulnerable enough to not feel like he needs to suppress all the things that he has eventually as he gets older, to feel like I'm a man, so I'll just put it on my shoulders. And, you know how David Goggins is, right?
Is that the one that ran
He runs like crazy.
the one who, but he ran so much that he pooped himself?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That type of mindset of like, just bootstrap it. His running thing is put the boat up on my shoulders and I'll carry it. And a part of that is being a man, like just, in a way sucking it up and kind of continuing to push forward. So I want to be, I want to have that relationship where I push him, but I also want to have that relationship where I pull him close and say, like, I'm here. You don't need to be everything all the time. Like, you can be yourself, you can be seen, you can be heard, you can be appreciated for what you've done or you're doing. But also, like, life is going to be tough and you got to push through.
Right.
So it's a tough balance as a dad, as a parent, to give your kids, especially these early years, because they're so what's the word? Impressionable, that you kind of tiptoe a little bit, and as they get older, you kind of find rhythms and things that work and things that don't, because each kid is so different. Like Naomi and Nehemiah, they're so different.
They are.
Like Naomi is so much like me. Nehemiah is so much like Tay. They both have each of us, but they have stronger personalities towards one parent.
Mm-hmm.
And like what works for Nehemiah doesn't work for Naomi, and vice versa. Like with Nehemiah, words are enough. That's enough of a discipline for him. With Naomi, it's not. So you can't parent kids the same way, and parenting is it's a constant evolution of adjusting and being gracious towards yourself, and being humble enough to be like, I messed up, or I was wrong, or let me try to do something else, instead of always saying like, no, it's my way or the highway. And that's the evolution of generations too. Like mom and dad's generation, the way mom and dad raised us was only because the generation before that was worse. And the generation before that was even worse.
Right.
So it's like each generation has to level up how we parent. It's not only the technology that we have, it's also the information of how people are these days. Are like, oh, whoa, parenting back then was actually not the best.
Right.
Or we didn't have the most information to be able to say like, all right, let me not do this because it's not clearly not working. Now we can see people, enough evidence has risen to say like, all right, let's try a new approach.
Right. And I think that's great. That's something I've realized as I've grown and matured, is that mom and dad did the best that they could do with what they knew.
Yeah.
And they did better than what they had.
For sure. And that's all we can do as people is level up.
Right. So what do you think as a parent is your biggest step up from what mom and dad did? If you had to choose one.
I don't know. That's a tough question. Do you have one that you can think of?
For you?
No, for you.
Oh, well, I'm so new. I think for...
Seems like either one of us don't want to answer.
Sorry guys, your camera.
I hate technology.
Love
This has been the hardest part of the podcast is the
figuring it out.
the audio and the video and the lighting.
Yeah, I've noticed you moved around a bit.
Yeah.
You were over there last time.
I haven't done the same setup. I'm just trying to figure out what works.
What feels comfortable?
Yeah. But your question, you're back? We're back? We're back. We're back on the radio.
We're back, everybody.
We're back, everybody.
I'm curious if people think we look alike.
Let us know in the comments.
Let us know down below.
Yeah, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And let us know in the comments below. I have no idea. I can't really think of anything right now that I feel like... What was the question what have I leveled up?
What do you feel? And I can answer for, I think... So the question was, how do you feel if you were to choose one thing, which, again, I think it's been a lot more than just one thing, but if you had to pick one thing that you feel you stepped up from doing better than mom and dad did, and not to bash on them, but of course you want to be better than your parents.
Sure. I think to answer that question, that part, not to answer that part of or to say something on that part.
Yeah.
I'm not being bashful. I think as parents, the only person that I'm never going to be envious of or mad at because they beat me are the kids. Everything else I'm competitive, in. But if they're better than me, if Nehemiah is better than me, I want him to be better than me. Yeah. I don't want him to be the same. Like, I want him to level up as well. So I don't think that mom and dad would take this in the wrong way. Hopefully not. But communication.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I feel like it wasn't until a few years into being married that working on it that I became even able to have thoughts of emotions. Not that I'm emotional, but just like being transparent to put like what I'm feeling before Tay and be like, or before the kids or before people in general. I also think that comes with age, because with my friends, like growing up, you're not going to talk about your feelings. Guys don't talk about feelings. But as we've gotten older, we definitely have. We've become more transparent with each other. I don't think that always happens, but with the right group of friends, it can. And it has happened for me. And it's sometimes weird to have like these type of conversations with people that you never had conversations with before, but you've known them for so long. Right. And all of a sudden, like, dude, are you different? Like, no, I'm the same. I'm the same person. But then, like, because King went through a lot of the similar upbringings that we did. And so like for us to talk about it, and we're like, we've known each other for 20 years.
Right.
And so for us to like finally in our 30s start talking about some of these things and be open about it, it's been we literally talk about it being like weird that we're having that conversation, because it's never happened before. So I would say probably communication is the one that comes to mind first.
The one that came to mind for me.
Why are you whispering?
Am I whispering?
Yeah. You just gotta talk, dude.
The one that came to mind. Okay, how's this?
Yeah, much
okay.
better.
All right, the one
because you're doing this. The one that came to mind is
the one that came to mind for me was patience. And I think that's how, I mean, Josie's only 3 months old, so I haven't had as much opportunity to have her test my patience.
For sure.
And then to show it.
Yeah.
But from me seeing you parent, specifically you.
Not you.
I meant that as in, of course, see
work on your patience.
You know, seeing times where you could have easily lost your cool, and a lot of patience was needed, and it's been really cool to watch you stay cool and collected, so that, you know, their feelings of chaos can be met with your calm, and then they reciprocate that calm. It's been really, you know, admirable to witness.
That's a good word for it.
And to know on your...
That's that college education right there.
You never use that word?
Yeah, I have.
Oh. To know on your you talking about how you and your friends didn't really talk about emotions. I'm actually reading a really good book. I'm not reading it. It's on audiobook.
That's
Audible.
What are you saying? That counts.
Tay, no talking. Quiet over there.
Shut your mouth.
Shut up, please.
You don't have to be quiet, but you have to shut up.
It talks about how it's called, I didn't even say the name of the book.
Yeah, let's give this guy some credit.
I wish I remember guy. I wish I remember.
What's the name of the book?
Men are from Venus, women are from Mars. I may be butchering that. It may be women are from Venus, men are from Mars.
Okay.
You know, if you search
it's
up
the
something
old
like
school
that,
kid playground saying.
Yes. And it talks, mainly the whole aspect of the book is talking about how men and women are different. And sorry, you can cut this out, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, I see it now. Never mind.
Should I, if it goes out, should I stop talking?
Keep going because it's on you. It's his camera.
Oh, true. My bad. It talks a lot about how men and women are different in terms of how they communicate, what their needs and wants are, and how they receive information. And early on in one of the chapters, it talks about how, which I think is new for me, because I'm always like, why are men so different? You know, obviously it's something, the men are just different, women are different. But it talks about how men view sharing their emotions and feelings as a weakness.
Yeah.
Because there's always this energy of alpha male. Like if I share that I'm struggling, I'm going to seem weaker than you.
Right.
And when they share that one thing I had to learn was when I go to a male talking about my feelings, they tend to almost always, without fail, come back with advice or a solution, when really for a woman they just want to feel heard, seen, and just express, because that's how women connect and communicate. Where'd you buy all this equipment?
Alibaba. No, I'm just kidding.
Amazon?
Yeah.
I'm only saying that out of curiosity, not this equipment sucks.
Facebook Marketplace?
Hey, Facebook Marketplace is Great.
But I definitely agree with that. But I also disagree in the sense that it's just men that try to provide solutions. I mean, I obviously didn't read this guy's book, but I think it's people in general aren't good listeners, and they're always trying to either prove people right. We talk about this all the time, either trying to prove people right so they're not listening and just wanting to disregard whatever it is you're saying, or provide a solution when all you want to do is just vent, be heard.
I agree. And I think a good solution. I think a good solution for that. Well, one thing I in my relationship was that I'm still learning to do, but it's as we learn each other, is saying, hey, right now I just want to vent and get it off my chest, or I'm looking for a solution. I need your help. I'm not always good at doing that, but I think that helps in mending those crossroads where they might not give what you are looking for.
Yeah. But then also it takes practice to also be willing to accept help and be able to accept people's opinions or solutions, because that's you letting down a layer of pride that
You can do it all yourself.
Yeah.
That's something I realized that I didn't realize before very recently, that I think I have a lot of pride when it comes to not asking for help. Especially now that I have a baby. I very rarely ask for help with mom and dad.
Yeah. It's not good to think that we can do it all on ourselves. And anything.
Right.
We're a species meant to do life together with people. And the more we can allow people ideas, impositions, being able to give us advice, the better of a community, the bigger and the more impactful of a community we'll have.
Right.
And if we want to have a community, like for me, I always say I want to have a funeral that's just full of people that she may not have even known. Why are you here? I'm like, oh, John, that dude, he did this and this for me. And it could be something simple or it could be something drastic, but it's that ability to allow people in that we actually end up growing. Because if we think that we don't need help and that we can do it all on our own, that we have all the best ideas, we have all the answers to everything, you're just fooling yourself. And ultimately you're not allowing yourself to grow. You're stuck at wherever. You're only going to reach as high as you can climb. If you allow people to help you, you can get much further in life, in anything. And that's where being able to have mentorship, to be able to speak into your life, because it also has to be the right person speaking into your life, right? We can't just allow any voice in, but allowing the right voices in allows us to see what people have gone through and either not go through them at all or cut short whatever it is we're going through, so that way we can cut it short and then get to the place that we are ultimately going.
Right.
And that's pride. That's a lot of people who have that pride bug where it's pride is not allowing them to grow.
Yeah, I think knowing when.
What about you? What do you said, oh, you were saying patience for me. What about you? What do you feel like is one big thing that you've leveled up?
Well, again, she's only 3 months, so I haven't had too much time to really.
You're still in UB.
Yeah. But I would say patience for me too. Why, again.
But you could be thinking of patience of from you when you were younger to you now. Because maybe you weren't as patient back then, but you've also grown, and now that you're a mom, you've kind of realized that patience a little bit more.
No, I've always had patience.
Think so?
I think so.
Yeah.
Especially after working as an ABA therapist for kids with autism. That's when I really knew that patience was a skill that I had.
Yeah.
Because you need patience in that role.
Yeah.
So.
That's with the autistic kids, right?
Yeah. So I don't. That is a good question. I don't know how to answer it.
You asked it.
I know. That's how I know it was a good question, because I can't answer it.
Makes you think.
I answered it for you and what I think. Are you able to see from how you've seen me as a mom so far? I won't be mad if you can't answer it. Again, I'm a newbie.
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer that yet, but I can give an answer based off of where I've seen you come from. Like, you're about to be 26. We've seen you grow up. I obviously have been there since day one. And that's crazy, Sid?
Yeah, because I've been there for you since day, what, 7?
Yeah,
No, since year 7?
Year 7. You've only been in my life, what's that?
25 years.
25 years. I've been in your life 25 years.
I thought that would have been a switch there.
All right. See, I didn't go to college.
Hey, I
you went to college and you didn't know. But we've seen you grow a lot, and we're super proud of where you are now, what you've been able to, how you've been able to grow, and the maturity that's happened. Like, probably the last 3-4 years, it's been like you went from just like growing, all of a sudden just like it's weird sitting in front of you now you're 25, because like anybody who has a younger sibling, especially that's 7 years younger, feels this way of like it's weird seeing you as an adult and treating you as an adult,
right? As a mother,
and now as a mother. That was weirder for me, knowing that you were having a kid, than it was for Nati having a kid.
Right. Were you surprised?
Yeah, I was surprised.
You didn't think I was gonna have
I mean, I knew eventually you would have a kid,
but just not.
I just wasn't thinking of it.
Right.
I generally wasn't thinking of it. And because you're still young enough that you could have easily waited a couple more years before anyone would be like, maybe she should start having a kid, type of thing.
Right.
Because 25 is 24, right? When you had no,
it's 20. She's 3. Hello.
Man, listen, man.
Bring that associate's degree out.
No, I didn't even graduate.
Okay. Bring that 1 month of school out.
Yeah, I did a semester.
3 months.
So just seeing your growth has been really weird, but at the same time, like it's been awesome to see you get to a point of like you're just happy, healthy, and thriving versus going through your chaotic teenage years.
I did. I have a lot of chaotic times.
You got some stories.
I have great stories.
I bet.
I have great stories. I wouldn't change it though.
No.
Because I wouldn't be who I am without it. I in a way needed to do what I did. All those crazy things, those crazy times.
But at least you've matured, because a lot of people think still into their 20s and then 30s, like, oh, you're young, right? But people think like, oh, I'm still young, I can still mess up, I still have the later side of time to figure stuff out. Whereas like, one, you've matured, but then you're able to take, advice, where people are just out there just still doing dumb stuff into their 30s and 40s. You're like, bro, you got to settle down. Lady, you got to settle down. It's like, life is long if you live till you're old. But if you're only going to live to 40 and you're 30,
you're old.
You're an old 30-year-old.
Right.
Or you could be a really young 60-year-old because you live until you're 90. Like, it's perspective is all based off of how long your life is.
Yeah. I think someone who helped me mature quicker into, and helped me look in the mirror and ask myself in a way, who do I want to be as a woman? How do I want to represent myself as a woman? Is actually you.
Really?
Yeah. Being your younger sister, there was I looked up to you a lot, more so in different ways than I did Dad.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make you proud. I'm not going to start crying.
I'm definitely not going to cry, so if you can.
Well, thanks. I think that helped me mature. There were many times where you talked to me in a way that was... It wasn't more so what you said or how you said it. It was reading between the lines of like, Ashley, I know that you're better than that.
Mm.
And I know you can be better than that. And I know you have more potential that you're not seeing yourself and that you can get to. That kind of made me look in the mirror and be like, who am I as a woman? How am I representing my family that I have? And I think that's when maybe you started to see that, that plateau of what I was doing, and then all of a sudden that exponential spike, what needed to change. And then I worked towards changing that. And my actions, my thoughts, my perspectives.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're
I'm trying to be
welcome.
better at receiving compliments.
You're welcome.
Tay says it, but I also know that I'm not the best receiver of that kind of stuff. But it does mean a lot to me that you said that. I was a weird...
You never knew?
You know what I was thinking initially when you said that?
Who?
I was jokingly thinking in my mind, Rosa Parks.
What?
It's the first name that popped up in my head. Yeah.
Absolutely
And it was
not.
just a joke in my, I was just, for whatever reason, I don't know where she came from.
Great woman, though.
Great woman. But I was not thinking me, a man.
Yeah, you've done a lot in my life. Being the older, I know I'm the younger, so for you, it's like I'm always going to be like a baby.
Mm.
I know whenever you had your friends over, especially, the Seymours, they were always like, oh my gosh, you're 12 now? I still picture you as this little.
Yeah.
Or you're 15 now, I picture you as this little. So it always kind of...
I'm grown. I'm the daddy.
Devin would always come over, hey, what's up, Ashley? Be like, good. Wouldn't even answer his question.
Yes. How are you? Yes.
He would just laugh.
Where do we go from here?
I don't know.
You have questions for us?
I do.
Well, we did grow up together. We share a lot of experiences.
I know.
You were out of the house, though, when?
I was 20.
So I was 13. That's
a lot of... You spent a good chunk, almost kind of like a single child.
I did. It sucked.
Because Nati was out of the house already for...
I was 10.
When she left?
Well, no, she went to college. I was 8. When she moved out, 18 is when you go to college.
Oh, yeah.
So I was 8.
Mm.
And then it was just you and me. But you were kind of already older, in high school, want to do your own thing. Thankfully, I had, the neighbors and the friends that I had right across the street, so that helped. But I was mad.
I know. I've heard.
At Mom and Dad for a little bit for being...
Oh, damn.
In a way, because I was like, what did you wait so long to have me for? I always wanted a younger sibling because I always did feel lonely. I feel like there was a good small window where all of us were home, where Nati was still young, you were still young, and I was conscious enough that it was great. But then,
yeah, that was probably what, from like you being old enough to remember, maybe what, 3, 4, 5 years old. So we're still like
13, 14, 15. You're
10, 11.
Yeah. Still in those younger stages where you still want to be home and play.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was home a lot though. I didn't do it too much.
You were home a lot.
Yeah.
But I still feel like you moved out quickly.
Well, because I grew up quickly.
You did. You were always grown. I feel like you, looking back on my perspective of our childhood, you were always grown. You were young. You had a childlike heart.
I still do it.
Was
We have a childlike body.
You still look like a kid. I was actually telling Johnny the other day how you used to terrorize me at when mom and dad would leave me at home alone with you.
I do that with the kids now.
You terrorized me. This would scare me until I'd be bawling my eyes out. And when I started crying, you wouldn't stop.
No?
You kept going.
I don't remember.
I do.
Oh, it sounds still familiar. I still do that with.
That's why I love to scare Johnny and passing it on.
Giving your trauma onto him.
Yeah.
Do you actually scare him?
Yes. I'll hide.
Does he get scared
I'll hide,
though?
yes. I'll hide for like 10 minutes. There's one day
Just make weird noises.
he came home on the phone.
He came home on the phone?
Yes.
What does that
He
mean?
came home while being, he
Oh,
was
okay,
home and he was
okay,
on the
okay.
phone. This was back when we were in Mass. And I was like, dang it, I can't, I don't know who he's on the phone with. I don't want to pop out.
Mhm.
So I stayed behind the door for maybe 10 to 15 minutes. I waited. I was like, I'm not going to lose this opportunity. I mean, he found me though. So I lost it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to scare everybody in the house. Naomi, I feel bad for her. She's too little. Nehemiah, it's game.
I love it. It's so fun.
And Naomi tries to scare us now.
Does she?
Hmm
She'll hide and pop out.
Yeah, she's getting better at hiding and not saying. Sometimes we can't find her.
Oh my gosh.
She was in the garage in the dark,
No.
and I'm looking for her, and I'm like, I can't find her. And I knew I was in the garage, but I didn't see anybody going behind me. I was mindful of it, and I go back in there, and it's dark. I close it again. I'm like, where the hell is she? Go back to the garage again, because like she had to have. There's nowhere. She's nowhere else in the house.
Yeah.
Open the garage door, turn on the light, look for her. She's not in like the direct sight, so I have to start looking for her. She's over by the corner of the garage by the tonal, and she's just like, because we have a bunch of stuff in there right now. She's just hiding like this. I'm like, dude, you stayed in the dark for this?
Oh, she wasn't scared at all?
No, she didn't say anything.
Wow.
She's a G.
That's a brave girl.
Yeah. She has a adventurous personality for sure. I'm excited to do some crazy stuff for her.
I feel like she's going to be the one scaring you real good. Eventually. Hopefully, when she gets a phone, she'll record it. Or when she knows how to use one.
Put me on the version of that times TikTok.
That's crazy.
So what you got for us?
Alright. What would you change, if anything, about your experience growing up?
You want to go first? The question is, what would we change about our experience growing up?
I think if it could be anything,
Sure.
back to what I was saying before, the age difference. I think that if we were all closer in age, I think we'd be a little more closer.
We're close though.
Yeah, but closer. I think that because that didn't really start happening till recently.
Yeah.
So I felt like a lonely. I was lonely. I felt lonely, and I felt like a single child. What is it called? An only child for a very long time, especially when I was in that phase of. I think my life would have been different if I had you guys around and not putting any blame. I just thinking the age difference. You guys were doing your own thing.
Yeah.
If you guys were closer in age, you would have been around when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I think that would have changed a lot of the things that I did.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, you keep saying it, not to make us feel bad. I don't feel bad. I didn't choose to be born. I was born when I was born to the people I was born to and the location I was born in.
It's not your fault.
It ain't my fault. But I was gonna say initially I wouldn't change anything. Corny cliche. But you saying that actually makes me think like, yeah, that would have been cooler for us to be like only a year or two apart, each of us.
You and Athie are only 3 years apart.
Yeah.
Did you feel close to her growing up?
Till 12-ish, till she was like 12.
Till she was 12?
12, 13, and then she's like...
Started doing her own thing?
Yeah, started to, she went through the puberty and everything.
All that.
All that, and...
I feel like you guys still hung out a lot, though. No? That was just my I was young, so that was my perspective.
No, we didn't really hang out after she went into like high school. Once she went to high school, it was she had her friend groups.
Right.
And wanted nothing to do with me.
What did you guys do at home? Did you guys talk?
Why you... Okay.
Sorry.
Why are you doing this?
What did you guys talk? At home?
Like afterwards? Like when she went to high school?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, we talked, but not really. We went through like a stage of basically when she went into high school till she moved out of, I want to say Worcester, that she moved back in with mom and dad, but we didn't talk too much. And then we became close, I feel like, again, once she worked for me at the shop, because we saw each other more frequently.
Right.
And we had some good conversations there. And probably around the time that, I don't know how old she was at that point, but like around the time she moved back in with mom and dad, met Matt. But from the time that she was in high school, she was doing her own thing. I was starting to get like, more of my friend group solidified and then starting to do more stuff with them. And then we had 1 year of high school together, senior and freshman. And I'm sure we talked, but it was nothing, there was no closeness, I wouldn't say.
Interesting.
So I think if we were all like a year apart, that would have been pretty cool. That's what we were trying to do with, not a year apart, but we were trying to do 2 years with the kids, so they had a sibling. Not only so they had a sibling, but so they had someone similar age to grow up with.
Yeah.
Because it's helpful, I think, when, like, obviously you would have experienced, if I was there in high school a couple years ahead of you, I'm an extension of dad in whatever situation. Like when Nehemiah, when they grow up and they're alone, like they go out, Nehemiah is, in charge.
Right.
So he's an extension of me. And not to say that Naomi can't also play her part and take care of him, but it's different when it's a brother versus a sister. So
Makes sense.
What else we got?
What do you admire most about mom and or dad?
What do we admire most about mom and or dad? That question was definitely made for people who might not have both.
Right.
What do you admire most about mom and dad?
I admire Dad's easygoingness. He was always, for me, and the role he played in my life, he never held any grudges. He was quick to just let his feeling not be known, and then he's over it. What's the question? What do I admire most? From mom, I admire her willingness to always provide what we needed.
To always what?
Provide what we needed. In terms of, she was really good at giving.
Mm-hmm.
We never went a day where we didn't have a good home. Well, I'm sure there was days she didn't cook. I can't say we never went a day without it.
Let's not exaggerate now.
But I admired her willingness to make sure we had good cooked meals, home cooked meals. Even though at times she definitely didn't want to.
We're not back. We're back.
Yeah.
We'll do one more question afterwards. We'll wrap it up because this thing is not cooperating. But with mom, her selflessness, with all that, I saw many times that I can remember her putting us first, dad first, over herself, including meals. Like, we didn't grow up poor, we didn't grow up rich. You know, it was middle class. But even if not saying that she couldn't have made more food, but for the food that we had on the table, I remember her giving up the last of something for one of us to eat because we were more hungry.
Instead of her eating it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
that's true.
You know, it's not saying that we didn't have the food to eat, but it's saying that, like, that's the selflessness of a mom.
That's a good one.
And I see that a lot in Tay when she does it. Me, on the other hand, I'm in my mind thinking, like, I'm going to eat this real quick because, one, I'm a bigger man.
I need the calories.
Yeah, I need the calories. And two, I know these kids are going to, I want more. And then all of a sudden, they just take like a little nibble,
You're
like the corner.
Slobbering all over it. It's not edible anymore.
No. And then with my dad.
It's funny when sometimes we say my dad when we're talking.
I know.
It's like, we got the same
dad. He's my dad. He was my dad first. For 7 years.
It's true.
I've known dad 7 years longer.
That's true.
For dad, I admire his leadership in taking us. I still think to this day the biggest thing he did for us was take us out of the inner city. And that's the thing that I admire most, I think, about him, is doing what was against the grain, in the sense of, like, we had our entire extended family within a few blocks of each other in the city. So to then want better for us and putting us in a situation of allowing his kids to have a better future.
How was that? I grew up after
they
moved into the suburbs while mom was pregnant with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea of that life. Yes.
No, I was 5 when I moved to Shrewsbury. We had a couple good years before you came.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I thought you moved when mom was pregnant with me.
No.
Wow. That's crazy. I believed that for
now. I was 5. Nati was I think 8 when we moved to Shrewsbury.
Okay. So how was it? You have that perspective of living in the inner city,
mm-hmm.
and then completely switching. Cause the house in the suburbs that we had was big.
Yeah.
How was that? How did that feel to you? What was that transition like? Were you scared? Were you happy? Were you grateful? You were also young.
Yeah,
so.
I wasn't thinking of any of all that stuff. I was just thinking about the big ass yard that we had to play in.
So big.
There was kids, the first day we were still unpacking the U-Haul, I met Ramin. That was the first day I rode a bike. The first day I rode a bike without training wheels.
Oh.
I still remember that day. Well, I remember that part, meeting Ramin and riding the bike for the first time without training wheels. Yeah, I didn't think about any of that stuff. The thing that I might have thought was going from Spanish to English and having more white people around.
Did you primarily speak Spanish? Was that your?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was it was my first language.
Wow. I guess I'm not surprised, but it's just so much different for me because English is my primary language, and it was from day one.
But I mean, it's your primary, but it wasn't your first.
Yes.
No, Mom always spoke Spanish to you.
Did she?
Yeah.
And was Dad speaking English to me?
I don't remember. But Mom always has spoke.
She has.
Majority Spanish with us.
I guess I just.
That's why you understand more than you speak it.
True. I got it. That's one thing. I want to pass that on to Josie. So I have a lot to learn still because I can understand more than I can speak it. But I want her to be bilingual. That's it. That's as huge strength to have nowadays. If you're bilingual, even trilingual, that sets you apart.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's something you wish you could have told me when we were kids? Why didn't you tell me then? Like asking each other.
What's one thing we wish I asked him, I told him?
You told him, and why didn't you then?
When you were young.
What's one thing that I wish I had told her when we were younger?
Yeah, when you were kids, and why didn't you tell them then?
Well, I feel like for me, that was such a short period, a short window. Like, again, you were out, 20, 19? So I was...
Barely 20.
I guess I wish I had told you how much I loved when you were around. And I didn't because I was shy. Maybe a little intimidated too. Maybe it was because you were a boy. I'm thinking like younger years.
Yeah.
When you were early teenager. Like I loved when you involved me in stuff. Like think about it as in Naomi with Nehemiah. Naomi loves Nehemiah.
Yeah.
She wants to copy him, do everything he does.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt with you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my answer.
Man, what is something I wish I could have told you when you were younger? And I was also younger.
Yeah. Wait.
I don't know. I think if I were to say anything, I'd say it wouldn't be necessarily one thing. It would just have that open line of communication. Be like, yeah, like, you know, not only am I here for you and you can talk to me about anything, but like actually already having that dialect and that relationship, so it's not needing to be said. It's already there.
A given.
So it's a given. It's already happening. But it's again, it's like I didn't know how to communicate.
I didn't either. I mean, I was young. And I think, again, the age gap, we were all going through completely different.
Yeah.
More so you and Natasha are closer in age, but like she was going through something different. Mm-hmm. She's at what? She's 25, I'm 15. We're not going through the same things in life.
No.
So it's hard to connect.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why the age gap, I struggled with that for a long time.
Yeah, but I think we the three of us have a relationship now that's I think one is genuine. Never feels awkward to be in front of you guys. And I see a lot of people that have like siblings, and it, like even seeing them around each other, I'm like, this is like kind of awkward for me. Like for siblings not to be able to be childlike, because like that's the person you shared your childhood with. Right. You should be able to share in those like inside jokes or like still childlike tendencies when you're around them, because it's like if I see a friend that if I get back together with my friends from back from back up north, we're gonna go back to those same inside jokes or stupid jokes that we had before, because we already had that relationship, and it doesn't matter how old we get. Right. Like, did you see that video of the two old men racing? There were two old men friends racing, and someone said, "Ready, set, go." And instead of starting to run, one of them just trips the other one and then starts running and wins. Yeah. And so it's like that kind of relationship that you want to be able to have with your siblings, that like, doesn't matter how old people get, how old we get, that we still play jokes on each other, that we still crack on each other. And then also as we get older, we mature enough to be able to have mature conversations. Yeah. Because we're the ones that like only went through our childhood together. I know. Like no one else. We share the same parents. We share the same parents. And so it's like we have inside information that no one else can relate to.
We have shared memories.
Yeah. And
That's
it's
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm curious if there's ever been a question you've wanted to ask me that you never asked me because you were afraid to. Because I feel like, obviously we have the same parents, but I feel like we're also different in a lot of ways.
Oh, for sure.
Like I see this deck right here. Did you have that out on purpose?
No. I mean, I did. Did I put it out there on purpose? Yeah. Like that didn't just pop up.
Just happened to be there.
No, I have that in case there's ever like a dull moment. I just got that this week, because I think eventually I might start like if I ever get Tay to do this with me.
Tay.
I think it's just a good way to ask questions, but this is like faith based only. It's a Christian card game.
Are you afraid to ask me?
No.
Christian? Oh.
You want me to ask you?
You don't have to. I was just curious if you were. I was just curious if you were.
I mean, this is just a conversation. I had no agenda in going any certain way. I don't think I have any questions that come to mind that I've been ever afraid to ask you. No.
Okay. Good to know.
That's it.
I mean, there's more.
Let's do one more because the camera's begging for like.
There's a lot of good ones, but
Ask a real good one.
it's tough. They're all like really good. But I don't get it. Why is it doing that?
Did you pause it?
No.
Yeah. So don't be.
Well, cause
How many more? One more? Two more?
We could do one or two more. Do two more. We'll do two more if the first one's A.
do you want me to like list them out and you pick what you want to answer?
Sure.
Like what stands out?
Yeah.
Okay, so how could I have been a better sibling to you when we were growing up? What's your favorite childhood memory of us? What's the worst fight we've ever had? Who was the first person to break your heart? Were you ever bullied? Did you ever bully anyone? What's the most annoying habit or quality? What's my most annoying habit or quality? What memory of us still makes you laugh? Do you think our parents had a favorite kid? If so, who and why?
Yeah.
What was your biggest insecurity as a teenager? How did you lose your virginity? What's your love language? If you had a Saturday with no plans, how would you spend it? What event in your life has had the most significant impact on you? What is your
Okay, that's like a lot
That's
to
a lot
remember.
It is a lot.
The ones that stuck out to me was the bullies and the insecurities.
Okay, we can do those two.
Any of them stuck out to you?
Yeah, the one. See, now I'm forgetting. There were so many. Damn. The favorite kid one. I can answer that in a heartbeat.
You guys, why do you guys think I'm the favorite? I really don't think I'm the favorite.
Why do you think you're the favorite?
They think I'm the favorite.
She didn't say that.
I know her thoughts. You definitely, because they've said it before.
Yeah, I think I'm Dad's favorite.
You think so?
Yes, and I think that's because him and I are more similar than you and him or Natasha and him, and we have a closer relationship. I feel like I'm more like him than I am. I feel like I'm actually very. Sometimes I see Mom in myself, but him and I feel like have that wittiness to ourselves where we kind of just throw jokes out there.
Mm-hmm.
That's been able to connect us more. So I feel like there was actually a period in time where, I guess we're answering this question, when I was finishing school, I called Dad like every day.
Really?
For maybe 3 months, maybe 2 months, and we would talk on the phone. Sometimes a couple times a day, and we would talk on the phone for a half hour to an hour.
Really?
Just bullshitting.
No way. I didn't know that.
And we got really close. And then it kind of stopped. But I think your mom's favorite because it was easier with you.
I think that might be the only reason why you guys think that, though, is that I was the easy
Well, you're also the only boy. And going back to the beginning of our conversation where you love your son different than you love your daughter,
Mm-hmm.
I think she showed her love to you differently than she showed it to us. So we took that difference and internalized it.
You really think the way, like, she was, like, affectionate with me type of thing?
Not affectionate, but less... How do I tread lightly here? Less tough on you.
Yeah, but again, you don't think that's just because I was easier in general?
That's what I'm saying.
Not because I'm the son, but because you guys were just Tasmanian devils.
Well,
you guys were, you and Nati were definitely not easy.
Well, that's the other thing that I just said. It was also because you were easier.
Yeah, and I think
that's so it was easier for her to love you, so she wasn't had to be as tough on you. So it all kind of goes full circle.
Okay.
But I know they always say, we love all of you the same.
Which is true.
I know. I only have one, so I don't know that feeling yet.
Yeah.
But we don't have to answer this question.
You just did.
I know. I'm saying you don't have to answer it.
What? Yeah, I don't.
You don't think there's favorites?
Mm-mm.
Oh, well, that's good for you. It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
What's the question about insecurities?
Insecurities and bullies.
Have you ever been bullied?
Well, the insecurity was, what was your biggest insecurity as a teenager?
You definitely made it sound like there was going to be more that came after that.
We're both like, TikTok, where's the rest of it?
We're waiting for you to finish the question. Our biggest insecurities as a teenager?
Yeah.
Well, school definitely was a big insecurity because school was difficult for me. And just like my learning disability was definitely caused me to not like school like most people.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, I had my good group of friends that I still am friends with today that I didn't deviate from. But I always felt like an outsider looking in. Like I didn't feel like the weird person, but I also never felt like inclusive to everyone else. And like that the feeling of people are always looking at me differently, or they're putting like their own preconceived notions of what I think or how I am without ever really even talking to me.
Yeah.
So like I remember I had one girl tell me like after we graduated, she was like, "Oh, you know there was so many girls that thought you were cute and liked you." I'm like, "No." Like I wish I had known that.
Right.
But like, the whole resting bitch face that, I think I have a lot of the times might come off as like
intimidating.
Yeah, maybe intimidating or just like standoffish.
Yeah.
Trying to think what else.
There was a period where you dealt with acne. Was that high school?
First of all, that didn't need to be said.
I honestly thought that's one of the things you would have said, to be honest.
I never had it that bad.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I never had it that. I had it bad like a teenager do. Huh?
Did it not last long? Was it like a period of like a year when you were just going through puberty that you got it?
No, I freaking still get acne.
You have good skin.
Thanks. I never got that compliment before.
Like I don't look at you and I'm like, he definitely suffers from acne.
I just get them periodically.
You get pimples.
Yeah.
That's not acne.
I don't think I had bad acne then. I think I got pimples, but I don't think I never had an insecurity about like yeah, if I had a pimple, I would have insecurity that day or that
Right.
week. But it wasn't like I think of people who have like bad skin, bad acne that like they want to cover themselves.
Right.
I might have just had like a big ass one here, maybe like I might have had a couple on my face at the same time, but that was like a normal teenage person would have.
Maybe it's because I was younger that I thought it was a lot. I don't
I
know.
mean, they definitely stood out. There were big ones sometimes, like the big red ones. I had one. Remember, I've had them in the tip of my nose. I've had them in the middle of my forehead, and like, of course, you're insecure about that. But it wasn't like an insecurity.
That you had.
Yeah, that I think back and like, what was your like? I never would have thought that.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
I'm
Sorry I
glad
brought it up.
because it was actually really, really bad. I was insecure for you. That's how bad it
I
was.
was embarrassed for you.
I didn't even want you to sit at the table. I was grossed out. No, if I think insecurity with that, I would think of like one of our cousins who had a really bad, like Billy had really bad acne.
I think that was called cystic acne. Is that a thing? Is that the name of it?
That it causes like your skin to end up having scarring from it.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever it
And
was.
it's like really deep
Yeah.
under the skin. Yeah.
Like the hard ones, the pop type.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I knew plenty of people that had that in high school. Didn't Victoria have bad acne?
She did.
Right?
Yeah. She did for a while.
Yeah, it freaking sucks getting acne at 32 years old. You're like, or not acne, but pimples. I'm like, I thought this was supposed to last like 12 to like 16.
Right. Then it's done.
Freaking 32 still having to deal with. Can I put some cover up on?
You got concealer? I thank mom and dad that I've had great skin. We've all had
Well,
great
I don't know
skin.
if you want to thank mom. Mom didn't have the best skin.
You know?
No, mom always dealt with pimples.
Really?
Yeah.
When? Now?
Maybe not now, but I feel like growing up, I remember her having it.
I never remember.
I don't know if she had
Remember
bad.
getting cold sores.
I don't know if she had bad skin growing up.
All right, then shout out dad.
So your mom is having bad skin though.
Huh?
She has pretty good skin.
That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
I mean, I'm not saying that she has bad skin. I'm saying,
But you just said, I don't know if you have mom to thank for that.
well, because I think that mom dealt with having acne,
At some point.
whereas dad, I've never seen dad.
I've never seen dad with a pimple.
No.
Wow. Good to know. Never thought about that. Now I'm going to be looking.
No, you're not going to find it. He doesn't have any.
I wonder if it's like the melanin.
The lack of it.
Yeah, dad's...
Yeah, because
Pretty fair skin.
She's more fair skin, and it wasn't.
No, because white people have acne too. There's nothing.
True.
If
What are you
anything,
trying to
like
say,
if
Ted?
anything, I feel like black people have less acne than people who are lighter skinned. Like the Duncans, they barely had acne.
Oh, when you said the Dunkins, I thought you meant Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, that definitely doesn't have acne.
To answer the question, my biggest insecurity, we said high school?
When you were a teenager.
Oh,
But yeah, I guess.
it feels like so long ago. And that was only like 7 years ago.
It's a long time.
Nothing. The way that I looked and my lack of feeling intelligent in comparison to my peers. So I feel like I grew up a lot with some individuals comparing me to others, which made me feel like I lacked in certain areas, especially when it came to creativity or grades. And when people would ask me certain questions, I was unable to answer them. I guess that's an insecurity I have now too. But I think the biggest one was how I looked. Because I was bullied for how I looked at times too. I guess that's diving into the other question. Was I bullied? Is that it?
Yeah.
I was bullied. Yeah.
Did you bully?
I bullied a girl once,
Oh, let it out.
I was in 6th grade, and it was literally a one-time thing, and not to justify it. My apologies, Joanna. I apologize that day too. Right after, I was on some sort of high horse, and I think that I was trying to, what's the word? Project the bullying I just received, because I felt belittled from that bullying, so I wanted to make someone else feel belittled so that I could feel bigger. I don't even know what I was saying to her. I think some sort of making fun of who she was as a person. It was so sad. But that was the only bullying I ever remember doing. I hope I never bullied anyone else. And I did get bullied by people I considered my friends in high school.
But is it bullying or is it like teasing?
My intention was to hurt. So I think that's bullying. But then teasing.
Like when you're talking about your friends bullying you.
No, they were bullying. That was bullying. That wasn't teasing.
Okay.
They went online.
Oh, really?
And wrote
Girls are reckless though.
very mean things about me. So, yes, I have been bullied. Have you been bullied?
Yeah.
You been bullied?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Going from a majority in this in ethnicity to the minority in a school that's predominantly white at the time, I was considered the black kid.
You were bullied for race?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
What did people say to you?
8th grade, almost all of 8th grade, I had the nickname this one kid gave me that stuck with a lot of kids was Black John.
I remember that. We're not even black.
Well, you're definitely not.
Did you ever do 23andMe?
Yeah, I was like 30%.
Me too. African American?
Maybe like South African for you.
Nope. I just got dad's fair skin. That went into high school too, no?
No.
Oh. No one on your basketball team ever called you Black John?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
No, that was just like that 8th grade. You know what's funny? That kid, I bumped into that guy 10 years after graduating high school and at a Chipotle. And he apologized.
No. Without you bringing it up first?
Yeah, I didn't bring it up.
Wow, what did he say? I'm sorry.
He's like, hey, I don't remember exactly, but it was along the lines of like him just saying that he apologizes for saying that and causing any problems with me if
That's sweet. So he didn't call you Black John because it was like a white John?
No.
Okay, so it was just, okay. That makes it worse. Like if there was I don't know if that makes it worse.
I mean, it doesn't help getting singled out for anything in a school, especially where you're not black, but you're considered like the blackest kid in the class.
You're right.
And I mean, I wasn't the only black person in the school, but there definitely wasn't a lot. Like, you know, it could have been like King, Keenan, and then like, you know, I might have been like, you know, out of 10 people, I might have been the 7th blackest person in the school.
Yeah, I feel that.
So there was that, bullied, and
But let's clarify that you're not saying you didn't like being called black. It was just that you were being singled out by your race, right?
sure.
Okay, that's just clarify.
I don't have to clarify that.
Just saying.
Have you bullied?
Huh?
Have you bullied someone before?
I would never think of like, I can't think of a time that I intentionally tried to maliciously like belittle somebody, but I definitely like with my for sure my group of friends teased them, a strong tease. But the thing is, like, when we're that age, a lot of the things that we tease people on are things that they're insecure about.
Right.
So those insecurities end up being put as they have a lot of weight, and
right.
they can carry into like adulthood.
I know.
So I was teased on like being a sped.
Oh,
Oh, I'm fine.
I take it back.
You sped. Which like you just again it's a class trying to help you learn better,
Right.
but it puts you in a position with kids that don't look at it that way. They just think that you're dumb. So it puts you in a position of like belittling yourself, and you just feel like awkward. You feel less than. Your differences that you have make you feel like non-inclusive to everybody else. But like really, no one really learns the same. A majority of people might learn a specific way that one teacher can teach them all.
Right.
But if that one person who is me doesn't learn that way and struggles, then it becomes difficult. But I also think that coming from potentially like the inner city to a suburb where like the school system is much different, that could have also had an effect, because it was early elementary that I started to get like that testing to be able to see if I needed to get extra attention from additional help.
Mm-hmm.
And like when we were living at our first house
In Boston.
no, like Tay and I, our first house, after we were married for a while at that point, say like 25 years old, Dad gave me my school records from 5th grade all the way through high school of all the testing that they had done.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was flipping through it, and I was like, every time I flipped over, I'm like this is testing that they were doing specifically to see like just how I learned, all the tests, whatever they were. And I'm flipping through them like, and I even asked Dad this. I was like, how did you not think that I was retarded? How do you not think that I was borderline retarded?
Like on the spectrum, like autistic.
Like I was exaggerating, but like the testing that I saw definitely was like, even at that time, put me in a position of like, how dumb was I?
Were they that bad, the results? Ooh.
It's just, I don't remember the results necessarily. It's more so just the amount of testing that they did. Made me. Do you remember that? Because I was sitting on the couch next to you. I just remember thinking, I was like, well, this is crazy. And I asked Dad, and he was like, no, I would go into the class, because I would go into the schools and meet with the people that were helping you out, and they would give me the evaluation of the testing results and all that stuff. And he never was fazed by it.
Dad wasn't?
Mm-mm.
In the sense of he wasn't scared?
He wasn't worried about it. And so I told him, I was like, had you given this to me at the wrong time in my life? Because at that point, I was already owned my own business for 4 or 5 years, had bought a house, was married. So I was doing well. But if he had given me all that paperwork in a down season of my life, or before, like that could have been like, all right,
detrimental.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was tested once.
Oh, must be nice, just one time.
Yeah, just the once, and they realized I didn't need the extra help.
It's like, no, we're only gonna test you because you're brother. Just because by association of him, we're gonna make sure that you don't have the same thing.
You're Justiniano. Get our test. No, it was. I'm not a good tester.
Most people aren't, I feel like.
I'm not, when it comes to memory, that's definitely a muscle I need to work on exercising. But in high school, it was really tough for me to take tests. So my grades weren't that great when I came to that. So I don't know what initiated them wanting to test me. I think maybe even I asked for it. But they tested me, and they're like, no, you don't have you don't need that extra help.
But it's weird that a test that you're not good at taking is used to test if you are good at learning or not. And that ultimately doesn't end up giving you the identity of who you are. thankfully it didn't hinder me, and I've been able to have a pretty successful life.
Right.
But a lot of people who go through that testing give themselves that identity of like, I'm just not a good reader. I'm just not a good writer. I'm not a good speller. And like, I know I have strengths and
Right.
where I lack. But at the same time, I don't let that stuff define me. A lot of people allow that stuff to define them, and like they carry that all the way through. Not only that kind of results, but also the results, not the bullying that they get. Because kids are going to say stuff that they don't mean, or they mean it, but they don't know that the impact it's going to have on somebody 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now.
Right.
And a lot of people carry that resentment later on into life, and they let that define them. Thankfully, I was not good in school, and I didn't apply myself as well, but thankfully it didn't affect my confidence. Like I always knew.
That's good.
I always knew for the most part who I was, and like I always had confidence of being maybe not the smartest in the room book wise, but I always felt like street smart. I always felt like anytime I stepped on the court, regardless of my height or lack of in basketball, I was still to this day, I think I'm like step in the court. I think I'm the best person, the best player. Not the best person, but the best player. You all suck as people.
Hey, you played with, I asked Johnny. I was like, because I haven't seen you play basketball in a long time.
When was the last time you saw me play?
Probably high school.
Yeah,
So I used to go to your games.
I guess the hoop.
I believe it.
What did he say?
That you were good. I wasn't surprised. I just wanted to hear his thoughts on it.
But John's really nice. Like, he wouldn't tell you. Does he have a side that we haven't seen of him yet?
Yeah, of course. Everyone has a side that they hide behind closed doors. It's a side that you guys haven't seen of me.
I feel like I'm pretty... Am I not the same with you that I am with everybody else? I open up more.
Absolutely not.
I open up with her more, of course, but I think I'm the same with whomever I'm with.
I think. Okay, so then I think that goes the same for Johnny. He's the same, but he might he's more comfortable with me, so he might tell me things that he wouldn't go blurting out to everyone else.
Yeah.
But
so who we see is who he is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to say.
I'd be concerned if that wasn't the case. Great guy. Add that in there.
Yeah, I'm happy for you guys.
Thank you.
We'll wrap this up, and I'll finish with saying that we are both proud of you. We're happy to see where you are at. We love the growth that we've seen in you, and we know that you're an amazing mom, and I had told you that before you even became a mom, that I knew you were going to be a good mom.
I cried.
Not in front of me.
I remember the day and the time and the feeling and what you did too. You put your hand on my back. You're going to be a good mom. We were at the airport.
I remember the airport.
I started crying.
But yeah, you're.
Thank you.
We're excited to see this journey of becoming a mom, and what 26 has in store for you. 2
more days.
Josephine and John. So we love you, and
love you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Hopefully
you keep doing this.
Do I? What,
yeah.
With my head?
The whole time you were like, every time you were gonna talk, it was like you.
I noticed that I do that with my food too. I bring my head to the food, not the food to my head.
That? It's like a girl. She does that. Yeah.
The head.
Doing that with the food.
I'm a very expressive person, but that's good to know that I'll bring the mic up to me, sit straight back. I've been forward the whole time, but hopefully you'll have me on again.
Yeah.
In the future, maybe years from now, and we'll look back and see the growth.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Love you too. Peace out, everybody.
Peace. The end.